Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we take the sources you send us, jump right in, and pull out the key stuff, those aha moments you're looking for.
Yeah, making sense of complex topics fast.
Exactly. And today, we're focusing on a medication many people know or use, sitagliptin. You probably know it as Januvia, maybe Janumet.
That's right. We've gone through a lot of material clinical studies, regulatory docs, market reports to really get a handle on this drug.
Our listener, the learner, is you, someone curious, wanting the knowledge without, drowning in data, ask us to unpack sitagliptin.
And we're ready to do that. We'll look at its history, how it works, its uses, how it's made, the rules around it, and, well, the impact it's had.
Okay, let's dive in. Where did sitagliptin even come from?
Well, this story really kicks off back in the 1990s. Scientists made a really key discovery.
Oh, yeah. What was that?
They figured out that an enzyme called dipeptidyl peptidase 4, or DPP4 for short, was responsible for shutting down these hormones called incretins.
Incretins, like GLP-1. I've heard of that one.
Exactly. GLP-1 and another one called GIP. These are super important for managing blood sugar. Think of them as signals.
Signals.
Yeah, they tell your pancreas, hey, release some insulin, blood sugar's up. And they also tell your liver to maybe chill out on making more glucose.
Okay, so DPP4 stops these helpful signals.
Pretty much. It inactivates them. So the thinking was, what if we could stop DPP4 from doing that? Could we keep those incretins working longer?
Ah, I see. The light bulb moment. Keep the good hormones active.
Precisely. And that led to the idea of DPP4 inhibitors, drugs designed to block that enzyme. Sitagliptin was one of the first ones developed that you could, just take as a pill.
Sounds straightforward now, but I bet it wasn't quick.
Oh, definitely not. Our sources highlight that. Turning that basic science into an actual medicine that takes years. Lots of research collaboration between universities and drug companies, persistence. It's a long road.
Right.
Sitagliptin and others like it finally got regulatory approval and hit the market, mostly between 2006 and 2013.
Okay, so that's the why. Now, for the learner out there, maybe taking it or knowing someone who does,
Yeah.
how does it actually work?
So at its core, it does exactly what we just talked about. It slows down that DPC4 enzyme.
By inhibiting it.
Yes. Stay active longer.
And what does that do for blood sugar?
It has a really neat dual effect. First, higher levels of active GLP-1 and GIP mean more insulin release from the pancreas. But, and this is important, it's glucose dependent, meaning it mostly ramps up insulin release when your blood sugar is actually high. It's not just pushing insulin out all the time.
Okay, that sounds smart. Prevents lows, maybe?
That's a big part of it. The second effect is it lowers glucagon secretion. Glucagon is the hormone that tells the liver to make more glucose. So less glucagon means less glucose production from the liver.
Got it. So smarter insulin release, less liver glucose. Makes sense. You mentioned selectivity earlier.
Right. At the usual doses, sitagliptin is much better at targeting DPP4 than some related enzymes like DPP8 or DPP9. That selectivity is thought to help with its safety profile.
And the low blood sugar thing, hypoglycemia.
Yeah, that's a key point. On its own, sitagliptin has a low risk of causing hypoglycemia because its action is tied to glucose levels. Now, if you take it with something like a sulfonylurea or insulin,
Then the risk goes up.
then the risk can increase, yes, because those other drugs can lower blood sugar independently. So doctors might need to lower the dose of the sulfonylurea or insulin in that case.
Makes sense.
And interestingly, when you take it with metformin, another really common diabetes drug, studies show it actually boosts the levels of active GLP-1 even more, an additive effect.
Huh. Anything else on how it works? What about the heart checks?
Oh, right, the ECG studies. They looked at the heart's electrical rhythm, specifically the QTC interval, and found no significant changes at therapeutic doses. That was important for safety assessment.
Good to know. Okay, so we understand how it works. What happens in the body after someone swallows the pill? The pharmacokinetics.
Right, how the body handles it. Well, it gets absorbed pretty quickly. You usually see peak levels in the blood within about, say, 1 to 4 hours.
Does food affect it much?
Not really significantly, maybe slows absorption just a tiny bit, but the overall amount absorbed is similar. Studies in healthy folks give us numbers, like a 100 milligram dose gives a total exposure, the AUC around 8.5 micromolar hour, peak level around 950 nanomolar.
And the half-life, how long does it stick around?
The half-life is about 12.4 hours.
Ah, okay. That explains the typical once-a-day dosing.
Exactly. And the more you take, the higher the levels, pretty much dose proportionally.
Hmm.
It also seems the body handles it similarly whether you're healthy or have type 2 diabetes.
How does the body get rid of it? Metabolism? Excretion?
It's not heavily metabolized, actually. Some breakdown happens via liver enzymes, CYP3A4 and CYP2C8 are the main ones, but it's limited.
So mostly.
Mostly, it's cleared out by the kidneys. About 87% of the dose comes out in the urine, largely unchanged. It uses active transport systems in the kidneys to get there.
Okay, kidneys. That sounds critical for people with kidney problems.
Absolutely critical. If your kidney function is reduced, the drug can build up, so dose adjustments are really important.
How do they figure that out?
Based on kidney function tests, specifically the EGFR estimated glomerular filtration rate, there are specific guidelines. If your EGFR is, say, between 30 and 45, the dose is usually half to 50 milligram daily.
And if it's lower?
Below 30, or if someone's on dialysis, the dose typically drops to 25 milligrams daily. It's worth noting, dialysis does remove some sitagliptin, maybe around 13.5% in a typical session, but the lower daily dose is still needed.
Really crucial info for doctors and patients. Okay, let's switch gears to how it's actually used. Clinical applications.
Its main job is helping control blood sugar in adults with type 2 diabetes, alongside diet and exercise, of course.
Can you take it by itself?
You can, yes, as monotherapy if lifestyle changes aren't enough. But honestly, it's very often used in combination with other diabetes meds.
Like metformin.
Metformin is a very common partner, but also sulfonylureas, pioglitazone, even insulin. The goal is better overall glucose control.
And does it work well? What do the studies show?
Yeah, clinical trials consistently show it lowers HbA1c, which is that key measure of long-term blood sugar control.
How much? As
As monotherapy, usually around 0.5% to 1.0% reduction. Added to metformin, maybe a bit more, like 0.6% to 1.1%. And interestingly, people starting with higher A1C levels tend to see a bigger drop.
Does it help with both fasting and after meal sugar?
Yes, it helps lower both fasting glucose and those post-meal spikes.
What about weight? That's always a concern with diabetes meds.
That's actually one of sitagliptin's selling points. It's generally weight neutral.
Meaning it doesn't cause weight gain?
Right. Unlike some older drugs like sulfonylureas or TZDs, which often cause weight gain. Now, it's also different from some newer classes like GLP-1 agonists or SGLT2 inhibitors, which can actually lead to weight loss. But for many, just not gaining weight is a win.
Yeah, definitely. So low hypoglycemia risk when used alone, weight neutral. Sounds pretty good. How well do people tolerate it generally?
Generally well tolerated in trials across different ages and BMIs. There was even a study looking specifically at patients with mild kidney problems.
Oh, yeah.
Compared to another drug, dapagliflozin, sitagliptin actually showed better glycemic control in that group and was still well tolerated.
Interesting.
And adding it to metformin and insulin, studies showed that combo led to significantly better A1C reductions and helped more people reach that target A1C of less than 7%.
Okay, that paints a good picture of its use. Now, a quick look behind the scenes. How do they actually make this stuff? Manufacturing.
It's evolved over time, become more efficient. The current main process involves basically 3 key chemical steps. Well, 3 main transformations. First, forming something called an enamine. Then, the really crucial step, asymmetric hydrogenation.
Sounds complex.
It uses a special catalyst to make sure the molecule has the exact right 3D shape. That shape is vital for it to work in the body. It's very selective, makes the right version.
Forever chemistry.
Yeah, and they've figured out how to recycle a lot of that expensive catalyst, which is good for costs and, sustainability. The final step is turning it into a stable phosphate salt. That's what's in the pill.
Fascinating. Okay, let's talk regulation. Approvals, safety issues, legal stuff. What's the story there?
It got the green light from major agencies like the FDA in the US back in 2006 and the EMA in Europe. And like all drugs, it's been watched closely ever since it hit the market post-marketing surveillance.
Keeping an eye out for problems.
Exactly. Looking at safety and effectiveness in the real world over the long term. Studies in Japan, for instance, have provided good long-term data.
Have there been any significant safety flags or controversies?
Yes, there have been a few things over the years. Pancreatitis was one of the early ones.
Inflammation of the pancreas.
Right. There were reports after it launched, including some serious cases. FDA analysis suggested maybe a higher reporting rate compared to some other drugs.
Did the big trials confirm that?
The big Take-Us trial that was its cardiovascular safety study didn't find a statistically significant increase with sitagliptin itself. But looking at the whole class of DPP-4 inhibitors together, a meta-analysis did suggest a small increased risk.
So what's the situation now?
There are warnings about pancreatitis on the label. Doctors are told to stop the drug if it's suspected.
Any other major concerns? Pancreatic cancer was mentioned sometimes.
Yeah, that came up partly linked to the pancreatitis concerns. But again, the TACOS trial actually had slightly fewer cases in the sitagliptin group, though not statistically significant. And bigger analyses haven't found a clear link, but, they keep monitoring.
What about heart failure? That's been an issue for some diabetes drugs.
It has. Some other DPP-4 inhibitors did show an increased risk in their big trials, but the TACOS trial, specifically for sitagliptin, did not find an increased risk of hospitalization for heart failure.
Okay, that's reassuring for sitagliptin itself.
It is, but the label still advises caution, telling doctors to weigh risks and benefits in patients who already have heart failure risk factors.
Makes sense to be cautious. Anything else?
A few other things flagged by regulators based on post-marketing reports. Severe joint pain arthralgia. The FDA noted this could happen with any DPP-4 inhibitor. Usually goes away if you stop the drug.
Ouch.
Also, a rare autoimmune skin condition called bullous pemphigoid. Reports led to label warnings. Serious allergic reactions, hypersensitivity have also been reported.
And kidney issues.
Acute kidney problems, sometimes needing dialysis, were reported, especially in people who already had kidney issues and weren't on the right adjusted dose.
Underscores the importance of correct dosing we talked about earlier.
Absolutely. And more recently, in 2022, there was the issue with NTTP, a type of nitrosamine impurity found in some batches.
I remember hearing about nitrosamines in other drugs, too.
Yeah, it's been an issue across the industry. Health authorities assessed the immediate risk as low, but allowed slightly higher temporary limits to avoid shortages, while the manufacturer fixed the process to meet the strict long-term limits.
Quite a regulatory journey. What about patents and generics? That must be a big factor now.
Huge factor. The main patent on the sitagliptin molecule itself actually expired in the U.S. in January 2023.
So generics should be everywhere now.
Well, not quite in the U.S. Merck, the original maker, has another patent on the specific phosphate salt form used in Januvia and Janumet. And through lawsuits and settlements, they've managed to keep exclusivity for those brands until May 2026 in the U.S. Janumet XR lasts until July 2026.
Ah, interesting. So a later patent is keeping the generics at bay for a bit longer there.
Essentially, yes. Though the FDA has approved a generic version, it's one that pharmacists can't automatically substitute. Merck themselves expect price and volume to drop in the U.S. during 2024 as that date gets closer.
What about outside the U.S.?
Different story. Generic sitagliptin has been available in Europe since late 2021, early 2022. And competition is happening in China, too. That's definitely hitting the branded sales in those regions.
Which leads us straight to the economic impact. It sounds like Januvia Janumet was a massive product for Merck.
Oh, absolutely. A true blockbuster. It was their top-selling drug for a while. Peak sales for the franchise were around $9.2 billion globally in 2020.
Wow. But declining now.
Yeah, the trend is downwards. Still significant revenue, like $3.4 billion in 2023, but definitely declining.
Yeah, and that's mostly down to the patent expirations and generic competition.
That's the main driver, especially where generics are already launched, but also increasing competition from newer diabetes drug classes, general pricing pressures. Maybe the nitrosamine issue had some small impact too.
But the U.S. market is still holding up relatively well because of that extended patent protection.
For now, yes. That U.S. market is crucial for its remaining sales, though even there, as we said, they expect erosion. We also see different trends regionally, like sales are still growing in Japan recently.
How do analysts track all this?
They use various models looking at correlations, regressions, time series analysis to try and understand the market dynamics and predict future sales. The market itself is broken down by dosage form too, catering to different patient needs.
And the DPP-4 class overall. Still important.
Definitely. Despite newer options, DPP-4 inhibitors like sitagliptin are still considered a cornerstone treatment for type 2 diabetes by many, largely because they work well and have that low risk of hypoglycemia when used alone.
Okay, last area, cultural influence. How has a drug like sitagliptin shaped things beyond just the pharmacy shelf?
Well, think about it. It's a widely used pill for a very common chronic disease. That alone gives it a huge impact on how type 2 diabetes is managed globally.
The convenience factor.
Yeah, the once daily oral dose probably helps a lot with people actually taking their medication regular adherence, we call it.
And its success probably spurred more research.
For sure. The focus on DPP-4 as a target definitely encouraged more research and development in that whole class of drugs and, the safety discussions we had.
Pancreatitis, heart failure signals.
Right. Those controversies have absolutely influenced treatment guidelines and how closely doctors monitor patients on these drugs now.
You see information about it everywhere, too.
Exactly. Websites like Medline Plus, the drug's own website, it reflects how many people use it and need reliable information. Even things like Merck's investor reports.
Highlighting its financial importance.
Yes, and showing the real-world business impact of patent cliffs and competition. And finally, programs like patient assistance programs, trying to get the drug to people who can't afford it, that speaks to a broader societal role in healthcare access.
Okay, so summing it all up, sitagliptin, a DBP4 inhibitor, really changed the game in type 2 diabetes management. It works by boosting incretins, improving insulin release smartly, and lowering glucose production.
Right. It became a massive commercial success, but now faces, the inevitable decline due to patent expirations and competition. And its journey has been marked by important safety evaluations that continue to shape how it's used.
Absolutely. This deep dive aimed to give you, our learner, that comprehensive picture based on the sources, a shortcut to getting up to speed on this significant medication.
Hopefully we've achieved that, pulling together the science, the clinical use, the business side.
And for a final thought, something for you to consider. We see all this ongoing research, newer diabetes drugs coming out with different mechanisms, some even showing direct heart benefits. So how do you think the role of DPP4 inhibitors like sitagliptin might shift or evolve in the future of diabetes care?
Yeah, where will they fit in 5, 10 years from now? It's a really interesting question to keep in mind.
Definitely something to mull over. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.